you all know, artists are the only people on the planet that want you to help them for free because they're that good.
Right.
They want you to help them for free because they're just that good, and you need to give them as much information as possible, and they should never have to pay $1 for it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and there is way too much of that going around. Durell, I know John Bon Jovial wants to jump in here. I can tell when he has a question, and he has one for you. Come on in, John.
Yes, indeed, I do.
Guys,
hey,
I'm here.
Hey, Durell, first of all, thank you. Thank you so much for being on the show with us and putting up with our trials and tribulations over the last couple of weeks, and we're just so thrilled that you're with us.
I totally understand.
Oh, well, okay, that's great. You came up with a little bit of terminology here a few minutes ago, which I found to be very fascinating, and you used the term prerequisite. The prerequisite to be a cop, the prerequisite to be a teacher, the prerequisite to be a musician, obviously having some talent. What do you have to say to your students, to your followers, to whomever seeks out your advice? What do you have to say to somebody that maybe in your estimation, and this is going to be kind of cruel, I know, but maybe they just don't have the talent? How do you talk to them about, and let them down easily so you make them feel good, that, keep your day job, look in a different direction?
Interesting question.
Good question.
But here's what I'll say, right? Here's what I'll say. I think that, as we can see, that if you can find the right audience, because, again, talent is relative, right? Now, me personally, if I have to like you, I have to think you're, to use my relationships to help you, I've got to like you. But we clearly see in today's day and age that somebody who's less talented but has a stronger hustle, they actually can be more successful in today's climate, right? So what I would tell somebody is, look, it might not be my cup of tea, but if you can find somebody that's going to rock with what you're doing, I'll show you how to get there.
Excellent. And
that's just the reality of it, because who am I to tell somebody that I'm not doing it, but somebody out there likes it. There's 7 billion people on the planet. So if you can't go find 1,000 people that like what you do, then it's really not. It's more about you than it is about them.
Right. Exactly. That's a very good point, and I thank you, John, for bringing that out, and Durell for explaining it. And I had a follow-up to something you said, which I have found to be...
Before you do that, David, I do have one very quick follow-up. And that is, Durell, as far as, talent is concerned, and David will tell you, my opinion of the tool, if you even want to call it that, auto-tune is very low. And
right.
how do you? What is your view of using auto-tune? Is there a place for it, or is auto-tune just an excuse for somebody to cover up talent that may not be there?
I think if you're clever enough with it, to me, it's because, for what I can understand, and I'm not, look, I stay away from the technical sides of when it comes to stuff like that, but here's what I'll say. The vocoder, the auto-tune, it was never designed to help somebody learn how to sound good. It was more like to kind of adjust the pitch a little bit, right? So if you can't sing, period, then I don't know if the auto-tune is really good, because it's almost like from a mixing perspective, right, or a mastering perspective. So if you have a bad mix and you go to master whatever that bad mix is, it's not going to make the mix any better. It's just going to inflate whatever bad elements of the mix was. Mm-hmm. And I know this for because it happened to my artists. That, from back of the artists I worked with from years back, we had great records, but the mixes were bad. And so because we were trying to reach a deadline, an internal deadline, by the way, it wasn't an actual from a labor or anything. This was just an internal deadline. Again, I was young back then. Knowing what I know now, we would approach it totally differently. But they would say, "Hey, we like the records, but just the vocals, they're too low." You know what I mean? And it doesn't take somebody with a audio engineering background to tell that the vocals sound low, right? So I think the auto-tune is really, again, it simply is a tool. Now we've seen, like Roger Troutman and most recently T-Pain and the people like that use but T-Pain can actually sing. Mm-hmm. For a long time, people thought that he really could sing, and I've seen on many occasions without the auto-tune alone, he actually can sing. So I think he was just using that as kind of, I guess, a branding tool to brand himself. But then, he wanted to show people I can actually sing. So, in my opinion, you should use it as a tool. If the auto-tune is the only thing you do, then I'm not a fan of that. Like
you just brought out.
You got to be able to. Go ahead, tell us.
You just brought out an excellent point that I have tried to explain to artists for years now, and you said that in your own experience, if you had known then what you know now, you would have approached the subject altogether differently, and I think
Correct.
That is an excellent point because it points out the fact that this is a business. It is an ever-changing business, and learning how to make it in the business involves constant re-education and continuing to learn what's going on and how to make it in the next phase of the business. And I think that was one of the strongest points you brought out, but you did bring out another one that I've also accented a lot, and I wanted to question you on. You mentioned back at the top that this is, in fact, a relationship-based business. And I think that is so important because anybody who has been in the business for any period of time has gotten repeated contacts from people they've never heard of saying, play my music. How do I get my music on your station? How do I get you to interview me? And I try to explain to people that, you've got a much better chance of getting in that door if you get to know the person and establish a relationship first. So if you would, talk to us a little bit about the relationship side, how to establish a business as well as, or how to establish a relationship as well as why it's important.
Oh, man, that's a great question. Well, I think, people got, like you said, like I said this before, relationships is everything. Why? Because guess what, guys? The music business is a small industry, believe it or not, right? It seems big to the average person. Oh, my gosh. But it really is 6 degrees of separation, right? So you have to approach and when I network, right, this goes back down to networking, right? So when I network, here's what I always try to do. I try to make it about the other person first, right? Because by making it about the other person first, it'll come back to what I want. So let me give an example of that. So, as I said before, I'm a graduate of Full Sail University. And so I've in the past have brought guest speakers out of my personal professional network post-graduation, right? I've probably brought over 10, 11 speakers, since I graduated, right? And so what I'll do to people is say, hey, well, I know I want to build with this person. And who doesn't like to speak about their accomplishments? Who doesn't like to talk about and what they've done, right? So, and it's always great to talk to young people and kind of give back. There's just something special about giving back to young people. So I would always tell somebody, hey, well, I know we met, and I know you're interested in possibly getting speaking, a school speaking tour started or something like that. Well, hey, well, I'm a Full Sail grad. I brought guest speakers before. Hey, I'd love to help set you up to be a speaker one day. So what did I just do there? I made it about them.
Right.
How can I help them? right? And then eventually what they're going to ask is, well, they're going to thank me for wanting to help them. They're going to say, well, how can I help you? You know, what is there anything that I can do for you? You know, so that's when it'll always come back around to me. So you always have to, when you're building relationships, you know, you always have to make it about the other person you're trying to build with. And a lot of people make that mistake. Like, you know, people there's a certain type of etiquette you have to have, especially dealing in social media, right? So I know you guys hate this. You guys will get a DM, somebody will DM you on Facebook or Instagram, and they won't even say hello. They'll just drop a link and expect you to listen to it, because I'm like, they don't even say hello. Who are they? Why should I listen to your stuff?
Right.
I don't know you. Right? I mean, and then, you know, just because you think your record is hot, it's probably not that hot, man. You know, and so again, these are things that new artists who don't really they think it's not a big deal, but it's a huge deal, because people are going to remember how you treated them. They're going to remember how you approached them. And like I said before, the business is a small industry, man. So, you know, they're going to remember that, man, this dude was an asshole. You know, like just the way he approached the way, you know, how he approached trying to build with me. Like, because the truth is, I don't need to listen to your stuff. Like, I don't need to listen to you know, to whatever it is you're doing. Now, if you make it a point to want to build with me and make an investment in me, then I'll go make an investment back in you at the very least, and try to listen to your music. But, you know, it's so important to build relationships, because that's what's going to keep you around in the industry for 20, 30 years. You know, like, as we can see, you know, those record label jobs that people used to have 20, 30 years, those jobs are gone. These older executives, they're not running. They've left the industry. Because it's run by young people now. Mm-hmm. If you're working mainstream, like whatever genre, pop, whatever it is you're doing, it's, you know, they want young people running this stuff. They want young people who understand, who have a pulse for the culture, running the record business. So, and that's why you see all these former label executives or whatever they did. Now they're all consultants now, because they're trying to still find a way to stay in the business. But then the problem with those people are they haven't transitioned. They don't know how to function in today's climate with social media and how all this stuff works now. Because you know, you have to know how to navigate the space in 2020, because it's different now. The way you break an artist in 2020, and breaking an artist is even a relative term anymore. It's different than it was in 1975, 85.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Durell, we're almost out of time here. We're almost out of time here. My first question to you, first off, right now, is this: can we get you to come back again in the future and talk to us more?
Oh, absolutely, guys. Absolutely. You know, man, like you said, I can talk about this for hours a day. So maybe we can have a special feature. Maybe we could do like an hour, maybe a 45-minute conversation, and just really delve into some more of the meat and potatoes of really what it really takes to be successful.
Sounds like a plan. Now we have several little house rules here on the David Bowers Awards. One is, once you're on our show, you're part of our family, and we try to help family and promote as much as we can. So keep in mind, one of my Facebook pages, and I realize that's old hat in some ways, but one of my Facebook pages is the David Bowers Awards groups page, and that page lets my guests post their own information, music news, promotions, whatever they're working on that they want to share with their followers. That is there for you to use for your own purposes, and we will pick up your posts from there and spread them to our other social media sites. So keep that in mind. You want to promote your speaking engagements or whatever, it's there for you to use. That's what it's there for. And that brings me to the second part of this. In the remaining minute or so that we have left, time for you to do some self-promotion because we feel self-promotion should be highly encouraged. Tell the folks again about what you do and how they can find you.
Wonderful, guys. But like I said, what I do is I'm a music business consultant.